around 6 degrees currently. Tonight, overnight low of 18 below, mostly clear. Tomorrow, we'll see a high of 6 below. Thursday, high of 10 below and a low of 30 below. And Friday, we'll warm up a little bit to a high of 8 and a low of 14 below. I'm Madison Quinn, News Radio, KFGO.
KFGO time's 2:10 Tuesday. In fact, you know what? We're going to start where we left off yesterday because now it's official. We're discussing at the end of a Monday, as we typically do, bringing you all the recaps of the week that was in sports, whether or not Tom Brady is retired. He said it today. He's done. Was it 22 years, 7 titles? I think he made 10 appearances in the Super Bowl. Arguably the greatest of all time, and I don't know that there's much of an argument to be had there. But one thing that struck me coming in to the studio here to say, okay, well, now we know. I think that was the last real quarterback of the era of our childhood. For some of us, in our age demographic of, 35, some in that area? Because you think about those that have already decided to retire let's be honest, Tom Brady stayed a lot longer than anybody ever has. But you think about, so Tom Brady being the last one. Before that, you had Ben Roethlisberger announcing he was done. Obviously, before that, you had the Mannings, or at least Peyton Manning, retiring a couple years ago. This was the last, superstar quarterback of our childhood saying, you know what, it's finally time to go home. I don't know that there's anyone else that's still left on a roster right now. That is somebody we grew up watching when we were teenagers, which I suppose every group has that kind of see ya as being the last one gone. But Tom Brady is the last one. Now, granted, because he's 44, he was undoubtedly going to be the last one. But I don't think that there's anyone else. Yeah, I mean,
maybe Matt Ryan, maybe.
Well, and I was thinking maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe some of that crossover. But I mean, during our childhood, it was Brett Favre. What I'm saying is we're getting old.
Yeah.
Sure. That was
He's one of the last players in the league that's older than both of us. Not a lot of those either.
See, it was the epiphany when I was coming down here from the office saying, geez, Tom Brady being done, that's the childhood gun. That's the awakening today is, all right, we're getting old, which is okay. 237-5948. That's the Lady Studio line. You can also text me at the 35270. That is the Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. I'd said, and in fact, you just heard from Madison Quinn, that we're expecting a press conference down in near the Twin Cities, near Richfield. I know our team's been following that. They were saying that was going to start about 2 o'clock. They did push that back to about 2:30. So that press conference not taking place right now as we had anticipated. It will be in about 15, 20 minutes time. And if there's news that needs to be shared with you, we will certainly take that and let you know about it. Got a couple of guests that we're going to be discussing some topics with. One being about something I threw out there just briefly yesterday because we're getting another time. You're hearing about announcements. I mean, how many mayoral candidates are in Fargo now? Are we at 5, 6? 5, I do believe now. So it's getting crowded there. You're hearing about legislators announcing that they're running, and I know that there's going to be more in the weeks ahead, and they're going to be, quite frankly, I think some surprising news on that front when it comes to some long-term legislators that, quite frankly, have maybe overstayed in the minds of their party. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. I know in South Dakota you got a new gubernatorial candidate on the Democratic side, and a Jamie Smith. You've got a number of these announcements coming, but it's obviously not just about the candidates themselves. It's about those initiated measures. And yesterday I discussed a little bit because you got reporting coming out about who's funding what you're going to see potentially on the ballot, to what you're going to have a voice in directly at that ballot box. One of those is about changing how you vote on a constitutional measure in North Dakota. And I asked you whether or not you think a 60% threshold is something that should be included in North Dakota. I mean, you can take that anywhere where you've got these ability to change your constitution. Should it be 60? Should you have the higher threshold? pointed out who's funding a little bit of that group. But you know what? The League of Women Voters, they've done a fantastic job over decades and decades of work of just providing a place to get the information. Not picking a side, not saying, well, you're wrong. Here's why you should go this way. Public information. And they're going to be doing that on Friday here in Fargo. And I want to have them on here in just a couple of minutes to tell you about that, because you know what? Friday, I'm out. Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and we got some great guest hosts lined up for you to take you through your 2 to 5 hours here on KFGO. But I want to give that opportunity so you can get that on your schedule and take a lunch break down at the Sons of Norway. So we're going to have that conversation in just a couple of moments. Also, a little bit later on, I'm glad we've been able to finally connect with the North Dakota Game and Fish, Kevin Kading. He has been working with the Outdoor Heritage Fund, and that was a rocky concept that finally I think is getting molded into what a lot of us wanted it to be earlier on, using dollars, putting it back towards conservation, put it out to outdoor recreation, and not just for swings and parks, though I don't fault any of that, but really putting it back into the outdoors in the sense I think when you say that term, that image comes to your mind. Pheasant hunting, of doing some of the conservation when it comes to farmland. So they've got some grant money that he's going to be telling you about. Whether you are a landowner, whether you are an outdoors man or woman, you're going to want to listen to that conversation. And, of course, we will talk about a couple of other items, one of which, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, and I want to take a pause here and come back to this, but there's been discussion now for a couple of months when it comes to Castleton development, when it comes to a soybean project out there. There's a lot of excitement, but just a little bit more you're starting to hear of some people, residents, that are a little bit concerned. Not necessarily with the project, but quite frankly where it is. I'll tell you more about that when we come back. 237-5948 is the Laney studio line. Messages coming in at 35270. Tyler, I'm just glad to hear the cheater is retiring. One thing you cannot argue with Tom Brady is the fact that he brings out a lot of passion in people, probably because of the success he had. And I know that there's some people, and I find myself at times in that crowd, was it all legitimate? You think about the whole, was it the forward pass when Oakland, the snow, of course you got the flake in, all of that keeps coming back up, of course, whenever you talk about Tom Brady. And I guess it's hard to avoid him. He's been doing it for 22 years. You can keep those coming in. We'll take any and all when we come back. I'm Tyler Axis. You are listening to KFGO Fargo.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO.
The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on the MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which
are close. But when you have development, when you have an economic development, whether that, of course, is a hog farm, or whether that is a big box store, or quite frankly, in this moment, in one of the conversations we're going to have as this goes forward, whether it's a soybean processing plant, which is what's going on out in Castleton. And I know that our farm and ranch team has been some of the first to bring you this project way back months ago. Rusty Halverson, Sarah Heinrich, you can go to kfgo.com, click on that agriculture tab. But when you have, a joint operation coming in saying that they want to own and operate a new facility, expected to crush 42.5 million bushels of soybeans in the first year, that raises some attention, especially if you are a farmer that has soybeans. We always want to do that value added, and it's great. I think it's tough to find anyone that would disagree that that's a good thing. But it comes back to the not in my backyard mentality. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but it's certainly one of those that makes you wonder when it comes to just the development in general, how much of the collaboration goes down to the actual, hey, I'm going to knock on this individual's door because guess what? Across that fence line is where we're wanting to build this big facility. And what I was tipped off to, Jesse, yesterday is that there is there are people that are concerned. And I don't think concerned with the project. I think when we get a chance to really dive in, they're going to say, look, it's not about the project. We understand the value. It's about it being so dang close. And what it might do to property values, what it might do to taxation, and what it might do to the infrastructure. But that conversation, anytime I brought up about the positive side of what this facility can and will likely do, I get messages at 35270. And now it sounds as though there's going to be some official opposition. I don't know if it's even fair to say it's opposition, or if it's more accurate to say, look, we want to be a part of the conversation because we're going to consider each other neighbors. Might support the project, but could you not move it maybe 2-3 miles down the road to allow the situation? My question is, would you fault them? Because I know that we've had people on that are saying the same thing with a number of things. Where I was talking on the break about, boy, you remember when 52nd Avenue was what it was. And now you look at the development down there, that started because somebody decided to put a stake in the ground, start building. I get some of that, but I also could find myself that if I were that homeowner, if I were the property owner just adjacent to it, I might want to say in the big operation that's going to bring a lot of trucks in, you can't tell me that if you're doing the 42 million plus in the first year, that there's not going to be a lot of traffic going in and out. What does that do to the neighborhood? What does that do to your valuation when you want to go ahead and sell? So we're going to have that conversation throughout the course of the week here as well, because it's not isolated to, and it's not about this specific plant. I think it's about how you get development and how you get those that call the page before this instance happens. I don't know, we put a call into the economic development. We haven't been able to catch up at this time, but we will give them an equal opportunity to just lay out how that process worked in this moment to get everybody, especially, yes, I get it, Castleton, not very far from where I'm sitting right now. It is still relatively a smaller town. I know we've had a lot of debates on what categorizes as a small town, but it's still in that little crux to where you are running into your neighbors down on Main Street all the time. So to get it right, so everyone's happy, I get it, there's going to be 60 jobs. I hope that there's an ability to find people to work those 60 jobs, which is a whole other topic of conversation I think is appropriate for a time as well, because when you have these new facilities, I think about Amazon up north, I think about some of the other, Marvin Windows saying when we are going to be creating all these jobs. It's great, looks great on a press release, happy to have it, but where are we finding the bodies to fill those new jobs? Conversation that we'll continue to have as well. I'm going to get to the text club at 35270. You can also call the Landy studio line, 237-5948. I think this is kind of a weedy. This is in reference to Tom Brady. Only 22 years. What the heck? He stepped out on top. Great competitor, although it sounds like the the old lady, and that's a shot at me. Had something to do with it. Someone should see if he can talk Rodgers into retirement. You wouldn't have to hear the drama for 2 months or more. Here's the drama and how you get Rodgers and Brady in the same topic of conversation, because now you got an opening down in Tampa Bay. And what you've got some competition down there, and it's a warm climate. People are wondering and speculating. Now, I don't know if there's any weight behind the rumors, but certainly it's got people talking whether or not that should be a landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. You get a trade going, you get something into where Rodgers no longer Green Bay. That's been my prediction since the end of the season. That abruptly ended sooner, I think, than a lot of us expected it to. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer next year. I think he plays another year or two, but it'll have to be for a competitor. And if you look at the NFC South, yes, albeit Gronkowski probably gone. There might be some others that say, oh, well, if Tom's here, I wouldn't mind looking and see my options either. But if you're able to keep enough of that core down in Tampa Bay and you have someone like Aaron Rodgers come in and fill the shoes of Tom Brady, there's something enticing about that. And I would imagine perhaps for Aaron Rodgers as well, wanting a different situation, but he wants to go somewhere to where he's not being a part of an entire rebuild. And I don't know that in Tampa Bay that you're going to have that start from scratch to build it all over again. So that's how you can connect the two if we're trying to get Rodgers into the Tom Brady conversation. I just think, as I said yesterday, and I think if anyone's just gloating today, it's probably that Adam Schefter that broke the news over the weekend before we even had the championship games. He came out, he got in front of it, and then you know what? People were really dunking on him, as the kids say, saying, well, that should have come from Tom himself. Tom, even yesterday on a podcast, said, I haven't made a decision yet, seemingly covering his own behind because you had media get out in front of it. And I said yesterday, I'll say one more time before we get you caught up with Kfgo News, is 22 years, this is one I don't know that you had to be the first to get ahead of. Just let him being Tom Brady, make the announcement. So all of that being said, Schefter was right. Tom Brady finally got out, came and announced it. So it's all done and we can just move on, right? No more talk of Tom Brady. In fact, we'll switch gears here. Like I said, Rusty Alverson coming in. One of the things that I do want to throw out there, we talked briefly about it, but it became officially introduced today, that Senate, and it's John Tester, Montana, introduced a bill to allow farmers to fix their own equipment. So if we're talking about farmers, you're thinking about the John Deeres, how equipped everything is. You need almost a computer technician to do things. There's a bill that was just introduced today to help alleviate some of that, so you can go take care of some of it as you're so accustomed to doing from all those years out in the shop. 237-5948, that's the Laney studio line, and of course, the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club is 35270. Going to get you caught up with KFGO News. Again, if there is any news that's being made from that press conference, we'll break in and bring that to you. League of Women Voters right after this on Tyler Access. You are listening to Afternoons Live, 790 AM, 104.7 FM. KFGO, which thank you again for making KFGO those very same call signals number one. Don't go anywhere.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two?
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Two tall tops,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Pioneer House Assisted Living, offering you the independence of your own apartment with the convenience of extra assistance when needed.
Fargo-Moorhead, mostly sunny and 6 degrees. I'm Paul Jerkins. We are under wind advisory now until 8 o'clock this evening. Local and federal officers responded to a Richfield, Minnesota school this afternoon following a report of a shooting nearby. Police responded to South Education Center in the Minneapolis suburb. Agents from the ATF and FBI also there. Nearby residents reported hearing 3 or 4 shots. Richfield Middle School, which is nearby, said some officers mistakenly responded to that school. Officers are wearing bulletproof vests and had their weapons drawn. Governor Walz was notified, and he has been briefed. The school has about 200 students. It offers special education programs and an alternative high school with students as young as pre-kindergarten. A news conference is scheduled to begin shortly, we understand. It had been set for 2 o'clock and then moved to 2:30. 6 degrees. This is KFGO News. Six degrees. This is KFGO News. Governor Burgum will not discuss who he will appoint to serve out the remainder of Wayne Stenjum's term until after the funeral of the longtime Attorney General. Stenjum died Friday at age 68, just a month after announcing his plans to retire at the end of the year. The public funeral is set for Thursday. Stenjum was a former legislator and the state's longest-serving Attorney General. Former Hennepin County Sheriff Rich Stanek has joined the Republican field for Minnesota governor. In a campaign video, Stanek touted his experience in law enforcement and attacked Democrats for letting lawlessness run rampant. Stanek is a former Minneapolis police officer, Republican state legislator, and public safety commissioner. He lost a close race for re-election as sheriff in 2018. State Senators Michelle Benson and Paul Gazelka, former State Senator Scott Jensen, and former healthcare executive Kendall Qualls are among Republicans seeking to be their party's choice to run against Governor Walz. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has announced her intention to seek a third term representing Minnesota's 5th District. Omar was first elected to the House in 2019 and was the first Somali American in Congress. The federal civil rights trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged in the death of George Floyd has entered its second week.
Testimony so far has centered on whether Thomas Lane Tao and J. Alexander King should have done something to prevent Derek Chauvin from kneeling on Floyd's neck, killing him. Mark Osler is a University of St. Thomas law professor and former federal prosecutor.
That question is exactly what makes this trial so important, is do we have a duty that will be imposed on other officers, no matter how junior, that they step in when they see something going wrong.
2 of the officers, Lane and King, were in their first week of the Minneapolis police force when the arrest happened. Chauvin is in jail on a murder conviction, and he pleaded guilty to federal civil rights violations in Floyd's death.
Reporter Al Schock. The trial is underway at the federal courthouse in St. Paul. Prosecutors say the former suburban Minneapolis officer was convicted of manslaughter in the killing of Daunte Wright should face a sentence above the state's guidelines. But defense attorneys for Kim Potter say she should get a lower sentence or even probation. Potter said she confused her handgun for her taser when she killed Wright last April. Guidelines call for a sentence range from just over 6 years to about 8.5 years. Prosecutors say she should get more than that because she endangered others and abused her authority. Sentencing is scheduled for February 18th. And recapping our top story this afternoon, local and federal officers, state officers on the scene of a school in Richfield, Minnesota, Twin Cities suburb, following a report of a shooting nearby. This is at South Education Center. Among those on scene, federal ATF and FBI agents, residents reported hearing 3 or 4 gunshots. It is unclear whether the shooting was in the school. Richfield Middle School, which is right nearby, said some officers responded to that school by mistake. Governor Walz has been notified and been briefed on what has taken place. The school offers special education programs and an alternative high school. About 200 students, also students as young as pre-kindergarten. And we do expect some sort of a news briefing coming up shortly, and we will monitor that and may carry that live on KFGO. Blizzard warning was allowed to, was canceled a little bit early. It was originally in effect until 3 this afternoon. Now under a weather advisory, wind chill, partly sunny this afternoon, steady or slowly falling temperatures, mostly clear, 18 below the overnight low. Tomorrow partly to mostly sunny and 6 below for the high. Thursday sunny, 10 below. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly sunny, 6. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
As Paul Juergens just told you, if there's news that's made in that press conference, whenever it does get underway down near the Twin Cities, we will let you know about the latest there. But in the meantime, I do have Rusty Halverson, part of that farm and ranch team in the KFGO studio. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks for popping on in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not meant in a bad way, but it's the same. It's the same topic as a conversation over and over. It's about shipping. It's about getting the product from field to store, whatever it is. And I know there's been a lot of efforts done. Tomorrow, we're actually going to have a conversation about the trucking side. I know some people were talking about a convoy last week. There's some CDL changes coming, I think, in less than a week or a week from today.
Yep.
That's all part of this. But, I mean, what's the latest you've been working on? I know you've been visiting with Rusty Johnson down in South Dakota. You've had conversations with a number of people.
Yeah.
What's the latest here?
Well, a coalition of agricultural groups are hopeful that the Senate will consider shipping reforms. In fact, they're looking at House-passed legislation, the Ocean Shipping Reform Act of 2021. Now, that bill was introduced in part by Dusty Johnson of South Dakota. It has the objective of making Federal Maritime Commission, or FMC, a more effective federal regulator. Yesterday, USDA announcing plans to increase capacity at the Port of Oakland and a pop-up site in California, Tyler, that should improve container turnarounds for agricultural commodities. But Representative Johnson says more has to be done. When we talk about that 40%, Tyler, you know, you've got to include railroads and trucking in that conversation, and we can talk about that more next hour. And like you mentioned, you're going to be talking about that more this week, too.
Yeah, yep. And that was brought on listeners saying, look, you mentioned that there's going to be some new changes when it comes to some of these regulations. Let's get an update there. The last rumblings I heard, and I'll visit with them tomorrow on it, whether or not, because there's some people that want to push this back, saying exactly what Dusty Johnson, that this is it's happening at a very poor time.
Yeah. Representative Johnson spoke to that topic and also about all these federal dollars that are out there to address the problem. He wants to see those dollars targeted.
Very good. We'll have more about that next hour, all right?
Yep.
Rusty Halverson, best in the biz, him and Sarah Heinrich. You can go to KFGO.com and just click on that agriculture tab. I do see that press conference is underway down in the cities. We'll get you the latest on that following the CBS National News. We're going to break away from CBS News and head out to Richfield down in Minnesota and get the latest from this press conference.
No further threat existed. Lockdowns of various schools have since been lifted within the area. Unfortunately, one of the students succumbed to his injuries. The others. Law enforcement is searching. We strongly encourage anyone with information regarding this incident to call the tip line at 1-888 TIPS tips or 1-800 call FBI. Again, our hearts are with the families, students, and the community impacted by this horrendous and tragic event. At this time, I will not be taking any questions due to it being an active investigation. I want to thank all federal law enforcement agencies, state law enforcement agencies, and municipal law enforcement agencies who assisted with their quick response, getting the scene under control. That is greatly appreciated by the City of Richfield and from the City of Richfield Police Department. I will now be turning it over to the Superintendent of District 287. Thank you.
My name is Sandra Lewandowski. I'm the superintendent of the Intermediate District 287, and the South Education Center is one of the schools we operate, and it serves approximately 200 students from pre-K through age 21 in both special education and area learning center programs. It's with an exceedingly heavy heart that we learned earlier today there were shots fired outside the South Education Center near the front entrance. 2 students were injured. Our staff members and police responded immediately to the situation and followed our security procedures. The 2 students did receive medical care for their injuries. Right now, we know that one has passed away and one is in critical condition. We have been and will remain in constant contact with the police department as they continue their investigation. And we will be unable to confirm any other information due to this police investigation that's ongoing. Please refer any questions about the investigation to the Richfield Police Department. We express our deepest condolences to the families and friends of the victims. To us, there are students that come through our doors every day. We care for them, and this is a terrible tragedy and loss. We're deeply saddened by this incident, and we'll do everything we can to support the families, classmates, and staff in whatever way possible. There really are no words to describe the bravery exhibited by our staff and local authorities today. No one should ever have to respond to a tragedy like this, and we commit to supporting all of our school community as we try to move through and navigate this tragedy. The building is currently being evacuated. Parents are en route picking up their children at a reunification site that we communicated to them earlier. Right now, we're focused on that reunification and the families and securing our buildings. The safety of our students and our staff have always been our top priority, and we'll continue to update them and you as we know more details that we can release. It is always difficult to understand an incident like this, and especially important for anyone who needs help to reach out for that support. We stand ready, as I said, with the support that we can give. I know I've talked to the Commissioner of Education, and she also has offered the support of the Minnesota Department of Education. Right now, we won't be releasing any more information, and we'll work through the police department in Richfield. Thank you.
All right, we're going to just recap what you may have heard. I know they had some technical difficulties here at the beginning of that press conference with the police chief, but officials have confirmed in Richfield that a shooting did occur. South Education Center, 2 students shot on the sidewalk outside of that school. Suspects fled the scene. One of those students injured, the other has died, and it does look as though they are asking for any tips when it comes to the law enforcement out in Richfield. Again, one of those students did die. One is injured, and that did occur earlier today about noon when I gathered at the South Education Center down in Richfield, Minnesota. We'll get you a couple of these messages. We'll come back right after this.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forcing. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable.
Where the shooting occurred, where's Richfield, Minnesota, and pulled up the maps here, and it is almost directly west of the International Airport, Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. If you've been to Mall of America, it would be to the northwest of there. So that's the area of which the school shooting did occur. And again, if you're just joining us, so the officials confirmed just a matter of minutes ago during a press conference that this South Education Center, two students, shot on the sidewalk outside. The suspects fled the scene. One of the students injured, the other has tragically died. What I was gathering, though, and it's what it sounds like, everything's directed through the police department, understandably so. We had the superintendent on talking about that they're not going to answer any question, ongoing investigation, and they're asking for the public's help in that area when it comes to these suspects. So that's a tragic day when it comes to that neighborhood. And I know already speculation going on as to, it over the course of the last year, 2 years, we have had to carry on these very airwaves because, Minneapolis, St. Paul is a hop, skip, and a jump. Many of you choose to go down there for a weekend. Go down there for a Vikings game, Twins, Wild, going for a concert. You're going to Mall of America. You're going down because it is the larger metro area and there's activities to do. And that's why we cover it, because we've got friends, family there, neighbors as well, because they are our neighbors. But the tragic stories of children getting shot, whether it's a birthday party outside of their house, now this one outside of a school. And it's just, when we talk about all the things that are taking place when it comes to safety, public safety, I know that is one of the top things when people are deciding whether or not to go to that area. And some people say, boy, Minneapolis, St. Paul, I can't go there. until things settle down. This is what a lot of people conjure up in their minds is happening day to day. And quite frankly, it's happened too many damn times over the last year. 2 years of young adults getting shot. We don't know whether it was a student, whether it was, they don't know. And I do hope they catch whoever did this, and hopefully somebody in the public is able to point them in the right direction. Tragic day out at Richfield South Education Center. 1 student dead, 1 injured as of now. I'm going to get this weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of Afternoons Live next.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see
from
that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too Tall Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page and send us a text.
35270. That's the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club, and that's where I'm going to go. If you're just joining us, we had the press conference down in Richfield. 1 student dead, 1 critically injured. Suspect still at large. Tyler, until all the BS stops in Minneapolis, I'm only one person, but I refuse to travel there, period. I know many others feel that same way. I know others do feel that same way because I hear from them often right here during Afternoons Live whenever a situation like this occurs. And as I was pointing out, there's been too damn many of them. I mean, 1 is too many. But when you look at the age of some of the victims in that metro area over the last, and I keep saying a year, you can extend that out. I don't know exactly when you can pinpoint when, but it's been noticeably a large uptick in it happening because I just keep thinking about hearing it right here on KFGO about a birthday party, about a child outside the house. Now this one outside of a school. So what? And I'm not trying to be all macho when I say this, but I still am comfortable going to areas because I know which places to avoid. I know what time of day to maybe not go down that stretch. This was in the middle of the day. It happened at noon outside of a damn school. So it's. I hope they catch this suspect that's at large. It didn't sound like there was much of a lead, and hopefully that it was just their little wink and nod saying, we can't reveal too much because this investigation is ongoing, but we're going to get him. Tyler, you are sadly mistaken if you think this school shootings can't happen in Fargo. Well, I'm not one that doesn't think that it could happen in any given community. In fact, I know it wasn't very long ago in which there was a student, a young student, it was discovered they brought a gun to school. Now, thankfully, nothing happened following that discovery. I know that there had been, after the tragedy that happened, where was it, outside of Detroit, that there was a lot of copycat, threats being made to school districts across this region. Not just in Fargo, West Fargo. I mean, up in those smaller school districts as well, those threats are being made. I know it can happen anywhere, but when it comes to just compiling on the other news that has been revealed, it keeps coming out of the Twin Cities area, and it's not just Minneapolis, this is Richfield, it's near the Mall of America, that I keep saying that just as a landmark for you to picture where today's murder happened. I get why there's been so much tension, so much emotion into what's going on in the Twin Cities. And there's people bringing in politics into the text club, and I get it because that's something that's been brought up every time. You just heard an ad, quite frankly, because I think there's a sheriff running for governor, former sheriff. And it's all, the entire platform is the safety and security of residents, of people coming to the metro area, coming to your state. That message doesn't take long for people to gravitate towards. It's a winning formula. And when these repeated tragedies keep happening, that's going to catch more and more attention. Tyler, until urban and suburban people finally stand up for the gun rights crowd, these tragedies will continue. So walk me through that mentality. Because, to me, it sounds like, well, had there been somebody outside that school, a good guy with a gun, this could have been avoided. And I think that's a bit of a stretch as well. Not everyone needs to be out there walking around like it's holstered up on their hip either. More messages coming, a lot of them. I will get to all those. I got to get you to CBS National News. I have no doubt they're going to cover this tragedy right in our back door when it comes to our neighbors down in the Twin Cities. We'll continue this conversation. I do have to tell you about an event coming up in Fargo as well that you're all invited to on a Friday afternoon. That's so much more coming up. I'm Tyler Axis. You are listening to KFGO Fargo, 790 AM and 104.7 FM. Don't go anywhere.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall, Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two?
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is
Just
all
a
improv.
Moment Afternoons Live is rolling on a Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for keeping it locked in to KFGO Fargo. Number one, again, thank you for making the KFGO number one. We do appreciate that. Number of messages coming in, and we're going to continue this conversation. I do want to thank my guests who are lined up to discuss a variety of topics for being so flexible. But with this tragedy happening right in the Twin Cities, there's people that want to get this off their chest. Thoughts on school shootings, on easy access to firearms, to standing up to crowds. So we will get to all that. If you want to lend your voice to the conversation, you can get it off your chest. I'm here for you. 35270. That's the Eye Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. If you want to call, Laney's studio line is available to you as well. That's 237-5948. Toll free is 1-800-880-5346. We're going to continue this conversation right after this KFGO News.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead, mostly sunny and 6 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. Police in Richfield, Minnesota say 2 students were shot this afternoon. One died outside a school. Police Chief Jay Henthorne says the students were shot outside South Education Center. The surviving student is hospitalized in critical condition. Those responsible left the scene. South Education has about 200 students. It offers special education programs in an alternative high school with students as young as pre-kindergarten. Superintendent Sandra Lewandowski says the students were shot near the school's front entrance, and again, no one has been arrested following that shooting at a school in Richfield, a Twin Cities suburb. Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney has announced his re-election run officially today. He served as the mayor since 2015. Mahoney touted flood and drought protection along with Fargo's record growth and development during his tenure.
It used to be a time when I started as commissioner in 2005, we used to beg for people to come in our community. Please come here, please come to our city. Now I have meetings once or twice a week of companies that come in and say, we want to come here, where can you find a spot for us? What can we do in this spot? We used to wonder about wage. Amazon came to town, flipped the wage to $15 an hour. Guess what happened? All over town, all the wages have gone up. So everybody's going with rising tide, and we're having a better wage structure.
4 candidates have filed a run against the mayor. The filing deadline for the June election is April 11th. Governor Burgum will not discuss who he will appoint to serve out the remainder of Wayne Stenchum's term until after the funeral of the longtime Attorney General. Stenchum died Friday night at age 68, just a month after announcing his plans to retire at the end of the year. The public funeral is set for Thursday. Supporters say Leonard Peltier, the man convicted of killing 2 FBI agents on a South Dakota Indian reservation, has COVID-19 and should be transferred to a hospital. The 77-year-old Peltier is serving 2 life sentences for the deaths of the agents. His 1977 trial was held in Fargo. They're also calling on President Biden to grant Peltier clemency immediately. For decades, they have claimed that Peltier is a political prisoner and was wrongly convicted. Weather advisory until 8 this evening, and then a wind chill advisory from 8 tonight until noon on Thursday. This afternoon, partly sunny, temperatures holding steady or slowly falling. Winds have subsided greatly from earlier in the day. Mostly clear overnight, about 18 below Fargo-Moorhead. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, 6 below the high, and then Thursday sunny, 10 below. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly sunny and 6 degrees. Paul Juergens, News Radio KFGO.
I want to get this correction out right away. It wasn't fair to have misread this text that came in. That is, Tyler, until urban and suburban people finally stand up to the gun rights crowd, these tragedies will continue. So I want to get that correction out there for that texter. I apologize for misreading before the KFGO news update. Tyler, when is this violence going to end? Question on everyone's mind. I mean, it is. What's it going to take to stop things like these from continuing? I mean, it's. Can you tell it's almost at a loss for words? I mean, I can't even count on two hands how many times over the course of 4 years that I've been in this chair that I've had to have this conversation about a tragic school shooting that happened either during or right before the show starts, and we have to have the get it off your chest moment. And then we'll get to that point, and then it'll kind of fade in the background, and then the next one will happen, and it spikes back up. We have the same conversation. The question is, when is it going to end? I don't know. I don't know what changes need to be made to get it to end. I don't know if I dare say it's the irony of all of this happening at schools, because you think about getting that good education, to set yourself up for that brighter future, that you get yourself into a situation that avoids this, but then it all comes crashing down because these happen at schools. Now, I know there's speculation going around online, but nobody knows who the suspect is. You just heard that he's still at large, assuming it's a he. But there's all this, well, was it a part of a group? Was it a gang? Was it another student? We don't know. We know that a student's dead. We know another's in critical condition. We do know that. The question is, what changes it? When does it end? How does it end? A question for you at 35270. You can also call me 237-5948. Tyler's too easy to access, too many guns. Second Amendment has been and continues to be prostituted by the NRA and gun lobby. Now, with that point, there's too many that are too easy to access. Again, it feels like the genie's kind of out of the bottle there, right? I mean, how do you do anything about that? And if you've been following along over the last year, I think sales have. I don't remember the exact stat, but I think there are more first-time gun easy for me to say, gun owners over this last year than before. A lot of them. And I'm one of them. I own, and I have, so I'm not one of the first-time and new ones. But so there's more manufacturers, more out there. So I don't know what you do to put that clamp down. And you start getting that to say, there you go, Tyler, there's that slippery slope. You're going to confiscate, aren't you? It's not what I'm saying. 237-594, it's the Lightning Studio line. That's where we connect with John. John, thanks for calling. How are you?
Let's use those slippery slope words again.
Yeah.
Instead of school shooting, what happens when you tell someone, well, where do you work at? You work at, this store? Well, what happens when they start shooting up that place or that place? There's a slippery slope.
Well, John, go ahead.
When it starts affecting people at their place of employment, because evidently it doesn't matter if it's kids.
Well, and John, I think that sad reality happened after Sandy Hook. To where if that wasn't going to be the moment that we got serious about doing something, anything, then there's not going to be another tragedy that does. I just, as pessimistic as that is, and everyone knows that listens regularly, that's kind of where I go. I just don't know what changes it. So if you have an option, you have an opinion, I'd love to hear. What changes it, John?
I think it's not, it's kind of like don't build it in my backyard. When these projects come in, great project, but not in my backyard. Well, guns are okay, but, don't shoot up my school.
Well, and John, I hope
that's a terrible feeling. That's a terrible feeling to go through. And it's almost like tell these people they have to crawl back under the rock. We got to do something about this.
John, appreciate the phone call. I do. Well, that's why I think the person saying, Tyler, you're kidding yourself if you don't think this could happen in Fargo. I will say again, I'm not one that, quite frankly, doesn't think it could. It could happen in a small school district as well. It could happen anywhere, and I hope it does not. You throw your hands up and walk away and say, well, that's just the way we live life here in this good old U.S. of A of ours. This is part of life. I mean, right now, At least within the last 45 minutes, there were parents waiting outside of that school to pick up their kids. It's not supposed to be a normal part of raising a child in this country, but it has become. And we're at the same conversation again. Just pick any month, pick any day. It feels like we can keep coming back to this. And what do you do? And then nothing. Crickets. Can't go anywhere. Can't change anything. Tyler, people seem to forget one of the first bad school shootings was in Mahoney, not long after Columbine. I think it was 8 dead. You're right. I mean, this is not something that is, again, that's not new. It's been going on for way too long. We've allowed it to go on for way too long. I'm not one that says you could just throw the hands up and walk away, say there is nothing you can do. It's just what's going to be the most impactful right now. And it's that communal debate of what would actually work. I don't know that we've come to the conclusion. It's either all or nothing. And it's got to be somewhere in between, right? And whether that's education when it comes to firearm safety, because we keep coming back to the guns, or is it about the access to behavioral health? Because there's not affordable, there's not universal access to where, God, you know what, I'm having a tough day, I'm going to go visit. So, but we're working on the stigma part. Well, that's taking too long. But the access to it as well. And I go back to the tragedy that happened outside of Detroit, in which now you've got the parents are in jail because they bought the firearm, the kid that's sending, on trial because he murdered some classmates, and they're saying this kid needs to get into, some behavioral health. And we keep doing that after something happens. We use jails as though they're supposed to be the ones that are supposed to cure some behavioral health issues instead of a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever it might be. So, I mean, there are things that can be done, but we don't put the money towards it. We don't put the education towards it. We don't come together about it. And now here we are again talking about another school shooting right in our backyard. More messages coming in. I'm going to take a quick pause here. 237-5948. You can also text in if so many are choosing a 35270. You got it locked into Afternoons Live. I'm Tyler Axis. This is KFGO Fargo. We are just a little over a week away from Giving Hearts Day, and there's a number of great organizations that you need to be paying attention to. One of them, one of my favorites, is the Ronald Mcdonald House Charities of the Red River Valley, right here in Fargo. You know what they do? They provide comforts of a home and support to families who have a child in the hospital. And you know what? Those stories of people being able to utilize this facility at a tough time is just heartwarming. And that's all done in part because of your donations. So they ensure families traveling long distances to get their child that critical medical care that we tell you is so much more expensive with a warm meal, that comfortable bed that means so much, wonderful accommodations, so they can focus on the matters that are, quite frankly, the most important. That's their sick child. So Ronald McDonald House again next week, Giving Hearts Day. You can go to givingheartsday.org. That's taking place, and we're going to be broadcasting that live Thursday, February 10th. That's next Thursday. Again, support Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Red River Valley right here in Fargo next Thursday on Giving Hearts Day.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things.
Tyler, is this a guns issue or a people issue? Guns don't hurt or kill till a person picks it up. I think that goes into what we're having. I mean, I think there's a chance to address both, and I'm not saying it dive in, but it's going to take an effort, and I haven't seen an effort. I haven't. Tyler, what isn't important to you is to someone else. Both positions may be correct in each instance context. We can't just deny a constitutional right because of poor choice, idiot behaviors, etc. Tyler, it's time gun people solve shootings. They offer nothing but more shootings. And of course, now I got another large text here. They have complete responsibility, 100%. More coming in. Tyler, unfortunately, if the culture among adults is that guns solve problems, kids are going to mimic it just without the full comprehension of the consequences. Facing this problem would require a bunch of adults to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Where we reacted to a pandemic by buying even more guns and bullets. I think it goes on, and I apologize. Bullet we could find, there we go. The psychologist defection regarding firearms is deep and complex. Well, and if we're going to talk about the way we handle the pandemic collectively, that's not providing a real good example of what we're going to be willing to do with each other to solve this. More messages. There's one that really stood out to me. Tyler, I'd leave the shooters nameless in the media. Your thoughts? Yeah. It's the wanting to become that overnight, people, you read about it, I mean, you can name who did what shooting in Columbine and Sandy Hook. I mean, the list does go on. Would it deter somebody who's in that headspace that he's got in his mind that he's going to go do this? I don't think so. But at least it's offering something. As far as, don't make them famous. Don't make them famous. Now what's going to happen is with this one, I mean, again, because of the situation as it was described by the chief, by the superintendent, looking for tips from the general public that it was outside on a sidewalk, it adds a whole other layer of complexity. You have the suspect still at large. That's not very common in these types of tragedies. So that other layer of complexity on, well, do you use the name? Well, if that name is part of an association of somewhere else, perhaps. So there's varying degrees here, but I understand what your intent in saying that is. Like if you just focus on the tragedy, the victims, and not the suspect or the perpetrator, maybe that pulls a little bit of an incentive out. I don't know that it eliminates it, but I appreciate you throwing that out there. Tyler, want to end it. Teach parents to parent. I raised 5 kids, put them through gun safety, guns or not. The problem is how children are raised with no respect nowadays. That's one thing I've said over and over again as far as being a gun owner. And I have got, nieces, nephews, that they come on over, the respect that you have for you as a gun owner, the responsibility that comes with it is so far overlooked in some of these cases. To where you put it in a spot where only you. But the education as far as respecting the tool or the firearm is as well, to where, and maybe it's where I grew up or where many of you grew up. Hunter safety was almost, it wasn't a requirement, but you just kind of were expected to go through it, right? Regardless if you were a hunter or not. It was just a part of growing up. Now, I'm not trying to idolize growing up, but I think that does provide a different mentality of the firearm itself. I do. And I know there's people out there that, want to do away with all types of firearms. I say, you know what, that doesn't mean anything. I'm going to disagree, and if you're going to be upset with me, fine. We're going to have that disagreement. But the aspect of, again, funding the access to, whether it's helps with parenting, the behavioral health, how do you recognize that your child is having troubling thoughts or whatever? I think that's another aspect that's missed in all of this of, well, just can't find a way to stop it. No, there are measures that you can take. There are certainly, and can you tell I keep going back towards maybe it's on getting the help needed? Because there's a number of things, but one of the big things that sticks out to me and my time in the North Dakota Senate on the Human Services Committee was watching as superintendents, as principals, teachers, as parents would come in before the committee talking about the need to increase access to behavioral health because they're seeing more troubling things at a much earlier age in public education, in the school system. So it's happening at an earlier age, and we don't have the resources to address it or to help the parent out, even if they've recognized it, or to not expect a teacher or somebody that's in the prison to be providing that care. There's professionals that went into it. We just don't have the want or will to provide that service. Because then you say it's welfare, or you say, well, it's on Medicaid. Geez, that must be some poor person. Why are we doing this? And then we get into a whole other realm of conversation when we've got resources to do it. Just don't have the will to, it seems. 237-5948. That's the Laney studio line. So many of these messages in at 35270. I'm not complaining, but I'm just telling you, if I haven't got your message right now, if they're lengthy, the system of which we have is garbage. I'm going to try to piece them together so I can get your thought out in a cohesive way, just as you sent it in between now and 5 o'clock when I get on out of here. Going to get you caught up with KFGO News. Rusty Halverson next. Going to take a pause from this conversation. We'll pick it back up, but we do want to tell you about an event going on Friday. It's an important one if you are a voter in North Dakota that wants to go ahead and have the ability to change things like your Constitution. People trying to create barriers, others saying we don't need that. There's an informational meeting that's going to provide you an opportunity to hear both sides. We'll tell you about that in just a little bit. I'm Tyler Axtis. You are listening to Afternoons Live on 790 AM and 104.7 FM, KFGO Fargo.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the
morning crew this morning.
Drukens News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Tragic event.
Sandra Lewandowski is the superintendent of South Education Center.
We expressed our deepest condolences to the families and friends of the victims. To us, there are students that come through our doors every day. We care for them, and this is a terrible tragedy and loss.
The school has about 200 students with special education, an alternative high school, and an early kindergarten program. The shooting took place near the entrance of the school just after noon. No one has been arrested. The FBI and Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives have joined the investigation. 6 degrees. This is KFGO News. Six degrees. This is KFGO News. With a growing number of challengers, Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney has officially launched his re-election campaign. Mahoney addressed the recent issues involving the police department and Chief Dave Zabolski. City Commission recently put the department on an action plan for improvement, and he says he hopes the issue would not become a political football during the campaign.
The thing that Chief did, what I was concerned about, is move too fast, too quickly. So we moved to a new command staff and new ideas. You would hear his officers, what they say. He's very bright, he's got great ideas, but his implementation is the concern. And I have confidence that he should be able to do those things, but he's on the griddle now, so he needs to perform. I basically want a 3-month study, which will be for the election. So a 3-month follow-up, what's going on, are we making progress? And then let us vet that in public and see what we want to do next.
Mahoney's challengers at this point include Fargo State Legislator Shannon Roars-Jones, City Commissioner Arlette Preston, community activist Hukan Dubar, and bank employee Dustin Elliott. Former Hennepin County Sheriff Rich Stanek has joined the Republican field for Minnesota governor. In a campaign video, Stanek touted his experience in law enforcement and attacked Democrats for letting lawlessness run rampant. Stanek is a former Minneapolis police officer, Republican state legislator, and public safety commissioner. He lost a close race for re-election as sheriff in 2018. State Senators Michelle Benson and Paul Gazelka, former State Senator Scott Jensen, and former healthcare executive Kendall Qualls are among Republicans seeking to be their party's choice to run against Governor Walz. The state of North Dakota is holding $104 million in unclaimed property and wants to find its owners. The Department of Trust Land says the amount of abandoned property has been on the rise over the past decade and includes $29 million during the most recent 2-year budget cycle. Unclaimed property can include everything from unpaid life insurance benefits to forgotten bank accounts. Weather advisory until 8 this evening, then a wind chill advisory from 8 tonight until noon on Thursday. KFGO Weather Center forecast the temperatures this afternoon under a partly sunny sky. Steady air slowly falling, will be clear overnight. Meteorologist Tom Shemansky is expecting a low of 18 below. 6 below for the high tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny. And then sunny on Thursday, 10 below the high. Fargo-Moorhead, partly sunny, 6 degrees. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
We've all been there before, but I've never had to be the one to deliver the news. Rusty Halverson came into into my office earlier today, and we're talking about something I've got coming up that might relate agriculture in the next couple of days. And I said, well, that'll probably be Thursday. He goes, so tomorrow? Oh, Rusty, my boy.
Yeah, kind of jumped ahead on that one, didn't I?
The look on your face when I said, tomorrow is Wednesday.
Yeah.
I felt terrible, but
no,
we're on the same calendar now.
Yeah, we are now. I tell you what, it's just been a work week filled. It already feels like a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And it's Tuesday.
Yep.
As we have a saying in this studio, which for whatever, I don't even know who provided this to the KFGO studio. Nothing messes up your Friday than realizing it's Wednesday. And that's really the that you had.
The heartbreak I had earlier
it was.
today.
I've never seen a man look so in disbelief.
Yeah. It kind of caught me off guard, to be honest with you.
That means a whole nother day to get a lot of work done.
Absolutely.
Optimistic. You've been working hard on letting us know about shipping containers, supply chain. You were visiting with Dusty Johnson, South Dakota Congressman.
Yep.
Boy, have you ever had one of those days as a talk show so you just can't talk?
Is it Wednesday?
Good Bill. What's the latest from Dusty?
Well, he's been spearheading an effort along with other members of Congress to really try and get a handle on our ocean shipping logjam that we've had. The Ocean Shipping Reform Act of 2021, it's passed the House. Folks want the Senate to consider it and pass it. But Johnson says when it comes to federal dollars for shipping improvements, those dollars need to be targeted. Now, February 7th, that's an important date, Tyler. New CDL regulations set to go into effect this month. It's going to update training requirements for the transportation industry across the country. Truckers, companies preparing for the changes for several years, but under the current environment, some folks say maybe we need to hold off.
We're going to have a conversation about that tomorrow. Some listeners, I think it was last week, said, Tyler, you talked about this a couple of months ago. It's time to get a refresher course. They didn't say it as polite as that. I'm churching up a little bit how they presented it to me.
Oh, sure.
They weren't very happy with me. So guess what? We got the individual coming back to explain what those changes, if they hold, which I'm not optimistic they're going to change, but what that February 7th change would be.
Yep. February 7th.
I'm not going to pull you into this because I don't think you probably have the answer. And if you did, you probably don't want to get into it. But when Dusty Johnson, congressman in South Dakota, says that this money's not used for agendas, I'm trying to piece in my mind what he would be getting at.
I would offer you a guess on that, but I don't have a guess.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because you're trying to get product to. I'll think about it a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, there's something in his mind clearly. Now, what an agenda would be saying, okay, we got an election coming up, but I can't, for the life of me, think about what it would be. So I won't pull you into it, okay? I'll let you go. How does that sound?
Hey.
Get some rest, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Looking forward to it.
All right, Rusty Halverson, him, Sarah Heinrich, best in the biz, #1 for a reason, KFGO.com. Just click on that agriculture tab. I'm going to get you caught up with CBS National News. When we come back, I want to tell you about an event happening Friday. It's a public information event. If you are a North Dakota voter, I would encourage you to put this on your calendar. It's noon, Sons of Norway, about a constitutional measure coming up. We'll have Ashley Hirchina explain next.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug here with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
We've been following along with candidate announcements, whether that's for your local office, your counties, and so on, and the list goes on. But that's not all that you have an opportunity to vote on. A number of times you've got initiated measures that take place as well. And in North Dakota, there's been a number of them, and some successful, some not. But some that have been successful has caught the attention of people saying, we might want to change the thresholds on that. And there's going to be that opportunity for you to vote on that, I believe, this coming cycle. But to learn about it, I'm going to encourage you to get your calendars out and learn about what the League of Women Voters are going to be doing this Friday down at the Sons of Norway. Here to tell you about it is Ashley Ladbury Hirchina to explain what's going on this Friday down at the Sons of Norway. Ashley, appreciate you taking some time and being flexible. I'd said earlier, I'd scheduled you prior to, but we just had this breaking news. But thanks for being flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's understandable.
Public information meeting. This is one thing I applaud the League of Women Voters for doing, saying, let's just get people in the room, have a conversation, and provide information about what's coming up. So explain to us what's going on Friday.
Yeah, so every month, September through May, we hold public information meetings on different topics. And this Friday, for February, our topic is on this proposed initiated measure to change how initiated constitutional measures are kind of handled in North Dakota. There's like two specific aspects that a group is looking at changing. So we've invited representatives from both sides to come and talk about, first of all, why are they proposing this? And then we have someone as well that's speaking on some of the potential drawbacks and why people might oppose it.
One, I applaud you for the effort of getting these two opposing sides in a room. I'm curious, have both of them accepted to be there?
So the Protect North Dakota's Constitution, the group that's proposed the measure, they did not have a representative available, but we're working with them to provide us with a statement and some information that we can still present to people.
Well, I hope they take an opportunity to provide that information to you because it's fair. And that's what, again, I keep going back to these informational meetings just because I've been a participant. I've been one that's just been in attendance that the League of Women Voters puts on, whether that's a candidate forum or getting information out about something as important as the ability to change the Constitution. So I do hope they take advantage of that. I'm curious, as though those that want to just come down to the Sons of Norway this Friday at noon, do they have to provide any money? How do people get in and take a part of this information meeting?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So the meetings are free and open to the public, so anyone can attend. The Sons of Norway is very gracious that they let us use the ballroom it's kind of way in the back of the Sons of Norway, which has been really nice during COVID because then people can spread out if they would like. And then also you can, order lunch through the Sons of Norway. So that's nice. If you're coming on your lunch break, you can get lunch through them. The meetings are an hour. So we go, 12 noon to 1 p.m. And like I said, it's completely free for everyone. And then we are also, we do live stream them on the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley Facebook page using Facebook Live. So it will be live streamed, and then we also post the recording later too. If that one, that noon to 1 p.m. time just doesn't work for you, you can go back and watch the recording later.
No, and I applaud that as well, just because one, the fact that you're right, some people aren't able to go down over lunch. If you can, I'd encourage you. Sons of Norway lunch, they get you in and out, they get you full. So get on down there if you can. But if you can't, the ability to have that online as well, because this isn't just a Fargo, West Fargo situation. This is the entire state. So whether you're listening to me in Valley City, Devils Lake, Wahpeton, I would encourage you to take a moment to watch if you can. This is just information, and we'll certainly have the debate going forward whether or not this is something voters should approve or not. But all has to start with facts, and that's what you're going to learn through the League of Women Voters here in the Red River Valley. Ashley, you mentioned that you got this Friday. You have other opportunities. What else can people expect from the League of Women Voters? I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot here, but this election cycle, every election, people look towards organizations like yours for just the factual content. So do you have other events planned?
Yes. Actually, just one thing I'm going to mention about this Friday's presentation. Yeah. So the group is still collecting signatures. So it's not officially on the ballot yet for either June or November. But the group is certainly working towards that. And then for going forward, for March, we have March plans set. We're having election workers. We've asked election workers from both Clay County and Cass County to come out and speak to talk about what their role is, how they're recruited. Just, in the last election, especially, there was a lot of kind of politicizing of election workers and what they do, which is probably the first time that we've ever seen something like that happen. And so we want to, ask the folks who actually are, giving out the ballots and helping us vote to come and speak about what their role is and what they do.
Yeah, and I think that information is going to go a long ways. I don't know if I dare say it's unfortunate that it's come to that, to where we have to clear the air, say, look, this is really what they do, because I do think, unfortunately, because of exactly what you laid out, circumstances in this last cycle, that there's going to be some people that say, look, I don't want to go through that again. So take this information in, learn about the process going forward. And, of course, the League of Women Voters going to provide that opportunity for you. Ashley, is there anything I missed, whether it's about this one, what the League of Women Voters do? Are you accepting members? Anything that you want to get out and say, why didn't you ask me before you let me go?
Yeah, so because we are entering an election cycle year, we will have candidate forums coming up. So we'll do, like in North Dakota, we have our primary elections and city elections in June. So we'll do candidate forums for that, where we ask the people who are running to come answer questions from the public. And then again in November for the offices running in November. And then, yes, we are definitely accepting members. There's local chapters in Fargo and then Bismarck-Mandan, both accepting members, but also in both North Dakota and Minnesota, people can become members at large if there isn't a chapter in your city.
Very good. One more time, if people can't make it to the Sons of Norway at noon, how can they watch online?
So they can go to our Facebook page, League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley. It'll be live streamed on Facebook during the actual time of the presentation. And one of our board members, Katie, is very good about posting it almost immediately afterwards, probably within 10, 15 minutes. It'll be up on our Facebook page.
Very good. Ashley, I appreciate you putting this on, and I appreciate you taking some time to invite the KFGO listening audience. You take care, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Very good. Ashley Ladbury, Herchina, that's going to be going on down to the Sons of Norway this Friday, starting at noon. If you have not done a Sons of Norway lunch, you're missing out. There's an opportunity to get educated on an important topic and dive into that Sons of Norway food. Got to get you a weather update from Too Tall Tom. Messages coming in about this measure. Yeah, I've got some thoughts on it as well, and we'll certainly flush that out between now and Election Day. I'm Tyler Axis. Don't go anywhere.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too Tall Tom.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Provided there, you're going to have a presentation that you can make your own decision. My mind, I don't think is a secret to many of you. I think there's a lot of hypocrisy going on in the backing of this measure. People whom I've worked great with, people I consider friends, that are on the wrong side of this one, trying to change this to 60% for you to change anything. And they're also changing a number of things to get to 60%. But you know what? Their measure that they're going to try to get on after the signatures, they don't need 60% to do it. Or to get the signatures. I do believe, and unless the things have changed, they also wanted to change the number of signatures needed. But they don't need that for this measure. And they talk about, all those out-of-state special interests pouring money into North Dakota, changing the Constitution. Go to the Secretary of State's website. That's where I started this conversation yesterday. You can look at the large dollar amounts that have been provided, not all of which were right from good old North Dakota. So when they continue to point the fingers at everybody, say, this is an issue, that's an issue, you're doing the same thing yourselves. There have been measures that have passed that I dislike. There have been measures that have failed that I really wanted to pass. But the process has been working. And it's been working fine. Now, again, there's some out there that quite frankly are in quite cozy positions, is how I'll put it, when it comes to getting the way of which they want things done in North Dakota. They got a checkbook. They write checks. They buy those steak dinners. They might fly you somewhere. And that all could happen at a time before when you didn't need to know about it. That was until you changed the Constitution in North Dakota and you created an ethics commission. Said, damn right we're going to know about this. I want the receipts. I want to know who was part of it. Oh, by the way, if there's a conflict of interest when you're utilizing our tax dollars in decision-making, we better have that known in advance as well. I keep coming back to that being the primary reason why you're seeing such an effort as of late, why they're trying to make it more difficult for you as voters, at least in North Dakota, to change things. It's not isolated in North Dakota. Doesn't take me very far back to go in South Dakota to tell you, you voted to create recreational marijuana as being legal in South Dakota, and your governor overturned it. I mean, these things are being tampered with in states across the country, but the level of hypocrisy at times in North Dakota and some of the key players that say, well, it might be good for us because we know more, but maybe not you out there. I just can't stand for that, and we'll continue to talk about it between now and if it gets on the ballot, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But we'll talk about that another time. We'll get you caught up with CBS National News when we come back. North Dakota Game and Fish, they do great work. And you know what? One of those funds, those outdoor heritage funds, they got programs that you might want to learn a little bit more about. In fact, we'll do that right after this.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So As people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on the MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Beer
Mighty
cans and couch
790.
potato radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
4:05, time for a fact checker at 4. This is the moment of the show which I tell you things that you might be seeing on your social media. We'll let you know whether or not they're true and or false. We'll start with one that relates to what we talked about yesterday at length when it comes to Joe Rogan. All started with Neil Young. People were saying, well, that could be the first of many. Well, guess what? When I got home, I saw on my Facebook people sharing this one. That's claimed Bruce Springsteen, Queen, Pearl Jam, and Dave Grohl removed their music from Spotify. Is that true or not?
Not yet, but I've heard some rumblings that Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters may be one of the ones who are considering it.
You heard the rumor? Yeah. You can't add the grayness. This is not true, by the way, for those of you wondering. Yeah, this is not true. But you can't go on rumors yet either. I've heard that same one as a Foo Fighters guy and a Spotify user. Please don't. Here's one more for you. Did Donald Trump lament that Mike Pence did not, quote, overturn the election?
Yeah, I think that's been all over the news cycle.
Yeah,
lately.
it just happened. It happened last week. So he was in a statement that former Vice President Mike Pence did not, quote, overturn the election of 2020. Yeah, saying it out loud. That is true. He did say that. Let's get you caught up with Kfgo News. Talking game and fish, outdoor heritage fun next.
KFGO News, partly sunny, Fargo-Moorhead now 5 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. Police across the Twin Cities, along with state and federal officers, are searching for suspects in a drive-by shooting outside South Education Center in the Minneapolis suburb of Richfield.
We had a shooting that occurred at the South Education Center here in the city of Richfield. Officers arrived and discovered 2 students have been shot on the sidewalk outside of the school. One of the students succumbed to his injuries. The other student remains in critical condition.
Police Chief Jay Henthorne, again, they were shot on a sidewalk near the main entrance to the school. South Education Center is part of the Richfield School District for pre-kindergarten and an alternative high school. It has about 200 students. Blood and backpacks could be seen in the snow where the students are shot, and again, no one has been arrested. Supporters say Leonard Peltier, the man convicted of killing 2 FBI agents on a South Dakota Indian reservation, has COVID-19 and should be transferred to a hospital. The 77-year-old Peltier is serving 2 life sentences for the deaths of FBI agents Jack Kohler and Ronald Williams. His 1977 trial was held in Fargo. They're also calling on President Biden to grant Peltier clemency immediately. Governor Burgum says he will not discuss who he will appoint to serve out the remainder of Wayne Stenjum's term until after the funeral of the longtime Attorney General. Stenjum died last Friday at age 68, just a month after announcing his plans to retire at the end of the year. The public funeral is set for Thursday. Ex-Hennepin County Sheriff Rich Stanek is running for the Republican nomination for Minnesota governor. Stanek joins a growing field of Republican candidates hoping to unseat Governor Tim Walz. Stanek served as Hennepin County Sheriff from 2006 until 2018. He also served in the Minnesota House from 1995 to 2003. Other Republicans in the race include Senators Paul Gazelka and Michelle Benson, former State Senator Scott Jensen, and Kendall Qualls. Weather advisory until 8 this evening. That'll be replaced by a wind chill advisory that'll be in effect from late this evening right on through noon on Thursday. Fargo-Moorhead, a mostly clear night. Meteorologist Tom Shavansky again forecasting about 18 below. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, 6 below for the high. 10 below, Thursday's high, sunny sky. Above 0 on Friday at least, near 8 degrees, partly sunny and breezy. Fargo-Moorhead, partly sunny, 6 degrees. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
It was a few years ago in which the Outdoor Heritage Fund was created. I think I'm going to say 14, give or take. And what the intent of that was, if you recall, was to utilize some dollars right here in North Dakota and then put that back to outdoor use. And there was a lot of debate on what this goes towards, what should be qualified as it. And I think we're getting there. And here to tell you more about this is Kevin Kading. He is with the North Dakota Game and Fish, because there are a number of areas in which private land programs, there's options out there for you. Kevin, how are you doing, man?
Hey, good, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing well for a Tuesday afternoon, 4:10 on a Tuesday. It's going well. It's sunny here. It's cold. I know that we did have some areas on the eastern side of North Dakota that visibility is getting poor, so we'll give an update on that a little bit later on. But I want to talk about this as far as utilizing that outdoor heritage fund for the outdoors. I know that there's been some new grants. There's been some new projects out there. Tell me more, Kevin.
Certainly, yeah. We've used the Outdoor Heritage Fund within the North Dakota Game and Fish Department for a couple different projects, starting way back in, like you said, in 2014 when it was kind of getting going. We had a grant that was utilized. In 2014, it was a $1.9 million grant, and we basically just kind of used that to kind of incorporated that into the existing plots program that we have. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with plots, and whether you're a hunter that uses plots or a landowner that's enrolled in the program, it's pretty widely known and widely accepted. And so we kind of just bolstered the program with some of those OHF dollars and targeted it into certain parts of the state. And we also used it for some additional lands that were enrolled in our Save Our Lakes program. And so that probably doesn't mean a lot to people, but what we did was we were able to enroll over almost 4,000 acres in the plots program and in the Save Our Lakes program to add habitat, create some habitat along riparian areas, some important waterways that are important to some of our managed fishing waters in the state, and additionally open up some public access to private lands for hunters. So a good combination, and those agreements are still in place. Some of them, some of those have expired, but we turn around and re-enroll those through our plots program again if the landowner is willing. But some of those were 6 to 10 year agreements, so they'll be on the landscape for a while, and it's just another way to get some more habitat and public access on the ground.
Well, and Kevin, that type of a program, when this was being debated when it was created, this is exactly what, being out there, I had envisioned. Well, you use this, we provide for the landowner and provide some access to the outdoorsmen and women. This seems to make sense. A successful program thus far, but I know that's not all. There's a couple other ones, and one that's new that I want to get to. But tell me about the Pheasant Habitat Initiative as well, because a lot of people have been talking about, the roller coaster as far as population for pheasant over the course of the last decade. Tell me about that program before I get to the Red River Basin Wildlife.
Sure. We have another one that's called the North Dakota Pheasant Habitat Initiative. Again, OHF dollars, but what OHF looks to, and they look highly upon proposals that can leverage other dollars or match with other dollars. And what the Pheasant Habitat Initiative was able to do is we were able to secure a $3 million Outdoor Heritage Fund grant, but that was leveraged with, over 20. The numbers kind of changed a little bit, but somewhere in that $20 to $25 million range of USDA funds. So basically that's coming from the USDA that wouldn't have came to North Dakota without those OHF dollars being matched. And so the long and short of it is that there's a program out in southwestern North Dakota. This one is through the plots program, but a landowner can use those dollars, participate in that program. It's targeting some of those riparian areas, maybe some of the watersheds and creeks and drainages, essentially, where those landowners can roll like a buffer strip or a filter strip of grass along those areas, and enroll that into the plots program as well. And there's some pretty nice, attractive incentives that are coupled together between OHF dollars, USDA dollars, and the plots program. So one of the directives of OHF is public access, and so between the OHF funds and the plots program, there's funds there for that public access component. And the program's been a little bit kind of operating in fits and starts, to be honest with you, just because it is tied to USDA dollars, and very shortly after we got the grant approved, the Farm Bill actually expired and shut down, and you have some issues with government shutdowns and things like that. But we really have been working on it quite a bit here this last year with our partners at USDA. And we're really hoping to get some kind of renewed interest and kind of get that a jump start. And I think there's just people that weren't well informed about it. Right. And it's a really, really good option for producers if they're looking for something like that in southwestern North Dakota. It really doesn't, it doesn't need to be large acreages. It can just be that little area along the creek that you want to square off, make it easier to farm, but then put some of that into the plots program and get some nice incentives to do that.
Well, and that's why I wanted you to come on, Kevin, because when it comes to education, you got a large audience right here listening. As far as I didn't know this opportunity was there. You got this area. Well, maybe we can put that into something. This is one of those opportunities on it sounds like the western part of the state. Let's talk about the Red River Basin Wildlife and Water Quality Enhancement Program. Mouthful, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. This is the newest Outdoor Heritage Fund grant from where I'm aware.
Right, absolutely, and that's the newer one that we just kind of are getting launched, and it's, again, like you said, it's in the Red River Basin. And what we were looking for there was a little bit of a different twist. This one does not have that public access requirement, and it's a little bit of a different beast, I guess. In that part of the state, that's highly productive ag ground, and really good cropland. And so we had to find a way to make a program that would work for producers and their ag operations in that part of the state. And so really what this program is designed to do, it's really to target those not so great areas, not the high yielding cropland that you have in your field, but those problem areas, whether it's saline areas or flood prone or just some areas along those creeks or those drainages that you just want to square off and not mess around with them every year. And we initially were going to call this birds and borders and bucks or something like that. I mean, it's kind of some weird because it really is just kind of the odds and ends, the little pieces and areas that we could enroll into a program and help producers as a tool for their operation. And it's kind of a unique partnership. Again, OHF dollars are involved, but we also have a partnership with the Department of Environmental Quality, formerly the Department of Health. But and so they are interested in it from the water quality standpoint. And again, with that part of the state, the highly productive soils and a lot of ag production, there is some areas that, some nutrient issues and some water quality issues. And so they had an interest from that standpoint. And we have the interest from the wildlife habitat and pollinator habitat standpoint. And so kind of a unique partnership where we've got soil conservation districts helping deliver that program. And landowners can work directly with the soil conservation district to enroll in that program. But it's just kind of getting going. But we'd certainly like to get producers in front of it and get some information out to them.
Well, I tell you what, you got a little bit more time for me because I want to talk about that last part as far as getting people that are listening to you right now. They're saying, I didn't know this was down the pipe, but I'd like to learn more. Do you have a little bit more time for me, Kevin?
Sure do.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold. I appreciate that. Kevin Kading is with North Dakota Game and Fish. I want to dive a little bit more. Red River Basin Wildlife and Water Quality Enhancement Program. You got North Dakota Game and Fish Outdoor Heritage Fund dollars, partnering with the North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality and the districts, the Soil Conservation District. There's a whole collaboration right here. The only piece missing right now is you as landowners and what you can do. We'll talk about that right after this. You got a locked into KFGO Fargo.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Baby Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, voices force.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about.
Kevin Kading with North Dakota Game and Fish, my guest. I appreciate you taking a little bit of more time with us here on KFGO, Kevin, because a lot of programs, Outdoor Heritage Fund, North Dakota Game and Fish. How do people, if they're listening right now, they've got land, they might not be as productive, they want to utilize it somehow. How do they learn more about these programs? How do they get registered for that?
Well, there's a couple different ways. First and foremost, they can contact North Dakota Game and Fish, and we can certainly point them in the right direction if it's not a program that is associated with us. I mean, there's a lot of other partner programs and other conservation programs that we're aware of and that we help with, and we can certainly help them get going in the right direction. If it's something to do with this Red River Basin project I just mentioned, if you're in one of these counties, it's basically, it's only eligible in some counties in Red River Valley right now. It's Cass, Grand Forks, Griggs, Ransom, Richland, Sargent, and Walsh. And it doesn't mean those other Red River counties aren't important. It's just that this is where there was manpower to deliver this. And so if it's successful, it could expand to other counties. But if you're in one of those counties and you're interested in that Red River Basin project, adding some grass, adding some trees, adding some areas along riparian areas, things like that, contact one of those soil conservation districts. Contact them, and they can guide you through that process and get you more information. If it's on the other Outdoor Heritage Fund programs I mentioned, that Pheasant Habitat Initiative, that's in the southwestern part of the state. Give us a call here or talk to the USDA county office in your county, and they can help you out or we can help you out. So there's a lot of options that way. We have information on our website as well, and so I'd encourage people to visit that. And there's plenty of information out there. It's a little overwhelming at times probably, so it might be good to just kind of review that stuff, but then pick up the phone and give one of our private land staff a call, or just call us at Game and Fish, and we'll help you get through the process.
It's habitat, folks. I mean, it's as simple as that. And, when you have not only that, but then the water quality, especially, I'm just so intrigued and impressed by the collaboration being done with this Red River Basin Wildlife and Water Quality Enhancement Program. I wish you guys would have went with the Birds Border Bucks. It's a little easier to say, rolls off the tongue, but I get it.
Right.
But it's great. And if you were part of those counties that you just heard, if you missed it, this will all be a podcast at kfgo.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And Kevin, before I let you go out, you mentioned all these other programs, and CRP is one that comes up a lot of the time. Did that just open up? I forget what the time frame is for those that might want to get registered. I'm sure those that own that, say Tyler, already know, but I don't. Did that just open up?
It did, Tyler. There's what they call a general CRP sign up, and that just opened up January 31st, and it goes till March 11th. That's USDA now. That's a little different than these programs we were talking about, but it's just another tool in a toolbox for producers if they're interested. So that's available right now for producers. They can go talk to their USDA county office and find out information on that. There's also a continuous. It's just another form of CRP where a producer can walk in and apply at any time, essentially. So there's some different options available through USDA. And again, we have a lot of those lands that end up enrolled in plots. So we promote those as well. We promote CRP. If we can help somebody get enrolled in CRP, and they want to stack a plots agreement on top of their CRP when they're done for some additional incentives, sometimes it's a pretty good combination. So you get your CRP rental rate, you get your cost share for installing the grass, and then you turn around and enroll that in plots, and you get some extra dollars on top of that. So just another option, another voluntary option, or for producers to consider.
I'm curious. I mean, I know this dating back to 2013, 2014, and the way the commodity prices have been, land prices, all of that sort of thing. And now looking at the landscape this year, have landowners been receptive to the programs? Have they said, yeah, well, I could make more money doing this, but with this little plot, I'm just curious the relationship, because sometimes I think it's depicted as contentious between outdoors and agriculture. And when I'm seeing the collaboration on some of these programs, I can't imagine that it's real contentious there, Kevin.
It kind of, to be honest, it ebbs and flows. Commodity prices and things change on the landscape, and we certainly understand that. And we don't blame people. People have to make a living out there, and so. But you're right. It has been a little contentious at times, and I think it's mostly just maybe a misunderstanding. We're not. When we talk about these programs, we're not expecting somebody to, put the whole farm in a conservation program and pack up and move to Arizona. Right. We want them to be on the landscape making a living. We want them to farm what they can and do the best job they can. These are just voluntary program tools, as you would say, for them to use on their operation. That's one thing I think with CRP that gets overlooked a lot. You could farm, if you had a quarter section, you could farm 140 acres of the best of it, but if you had 20-acre little problem spot out there, it really does pencil out pretty well in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases it pencils out well to put those acres into something else and just let them be, help the wildlife a little bit, help improve water quality, and overall it's going to probably help their bottom line. And so that's kind of the angle I like to take, is just don't look at it as one or the other. It can be both. It can be conservation and farming and ranching together. So a lot of options out there.
Well, there's a lot of information, Kevin. I've kind of enjoyed this, but because there is so much, can we do it again soon? Get this word out, continue that, just information. This is what you guys need to know.
Absolutely, yeah. Look us up anytime, and we'll visit whenever you have time.
Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, I got your word. It's right here on live radio. We'll chat again soon, Kevin, all right?
There you go. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, you bet. You take care. Kevin Kading, North Dakota Game and Fish. We'll get you caught up with KFGO News. Final half hour of Afternoons Live. That is next.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? From It Takes Two.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Rick Electric. Proud to serve the Fargo-Moorhead area since 1964. Day or night, they're here for you. Find them at rickelectric.com.
Fargo-Moorhead, partly cloudy and 5 degrees. I'm Paul Juergens. Again, the North Dakota DOT and the State Patrol late this afternoon have closed I-29 from Grand Forks to the Canadian line. Lieutenant Troy Hischer of the Highway Patrol, he's a regional commander, says poor driving conditions there, reduced visibility, blowing snow, still icy road conditions. He's warning that anyone who drives past the road closures will put themselves and others at risk, and they could face a fine of up to $250. This, again, includes just that section of I-29, both north and southbound, between Grand Forks and the Canadian line. The search is on for suspects after 2 students were shot outside a school in Richfield, a Twin Cities suburb, today. 1 student died at the scene. The second is in critical condition. Police say the shots may have come from an SUV that left the scene. Sandra Lewandowski is the superintendent of South Education Center.
No one should ever have to respond to a tragedy like this, and we commit to supporting all of our school community as we try to move through and navigate this tragedy.
The school has about 200 students from early kindergarten through high school. The shooting took place on a sidewalk outside the main entrance to the building. Backpacks and blood could be seen in the snow where the victims were hit. 5 degrees. This is KFGO News. Partly cloudy, it's 5 degrees. This is KFGO News. Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney has made it official. He is running for re-election. He's been mayor for 7 years. Prior to that, for 6 years, he was deputy mayor under Dennis Walliker and served 9 years as a commissioner. Mahoney says his priorities for another term would be affordable housing, improving neighborhoods, and better serving the vulnerable population with an eye toward sustainability.
The goal I have with this run in this race right now is what I would call sustainability as a community. We want to be a sustainable community, a stable tax rate. Try to figure out what would make us go through the next few years, what happens. We've been a city for 150 years. What's our next 150 years going to be? What are we going to develop as a community? We have Lake Fargo now in South Fargo. We're going to develop a community that's walkable, bikeable, people can move around in it, but it's going to be attractive for people to come. What is our best growth?
The filing deadline for the June election is April 11th. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has announced her intention to seek a third term representing Minnesota's 5th District. Omar was first elected to the House in 2019 and was the first Somali American in Congress. The executive director and founding member of Theater B in Moorhead, Carrie Winterstein, is stepping away. Theater B is a nonprofit theater company founded in 2003 by a small group. Theater B has grown to 14 performers with 2 part-time staff and a board of directors. Winterstein says Theater B means a lot to her, and it is far more than a job. She says she'll be spending more time with family and at the lake. Theater B is looking for a new executive director. A coalition of news media organizations have asked a federal appeals court to ensure public access to the trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights. The news organizations petitioned the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals to dismiss 2 orders from Judge Paul Magnuson that they say violated the First Amendment by closing an earlier hearing and sealing the transcript. An attorney for the Media Coalition told the appeals court that ensuring the trial is fully open to the media and public is imperative. Weather advisory until 8 this evening, then we will be under a wind chill advisory until midday Thursday, noon on Thursday. Mostly clear tonight. Fargo-Moorhead, we expect an overnight low of about 18 below zero. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, 6 below. Sunny Thursday, only 10 below for the high. Fargo-Moorhead, it is partly cloudy and 5. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Here's a question I want you to ponder as we go into CBS and national news headlines. Final 25. Where do you draw the line on who you're tipping? I mean, it's easy to, okay, well, the bartender certainly is going to get a tip. The waitress, yep. Your barista, perhaps. Home delivery, does it have to be food? Because that's a conversation that I got into over the weekend as far as, let's say you have furniture delivered. Do you tip them? Do you tip the person that's bringing in your couch? Or is it only if they're bringing in your pizza? That conversation. I want to have your thoughts. Where do you drop? Do you tip people that drop off your brand new furniture? 35270. You can call me on the Laney studio line at 237-5948. I'm coming back with that question right after this news.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Here with another Dynamite News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Air
Mighty
Cancer
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Simple question. When did you decide not to tip? Now, let me tell you a couple of conversations I had. One being, now if you order or if you go somewhere because of the whole supply chain issues of which we've all been living in, they might not have it in stock. You might not be able to load it up in the pickup and bring to your home that day. In fact, you might have to wait 2 months to have something delivered. But they're going to deliver it for you, and they might not charge you to do it. In fact, they didn't charge. So if that individual or that team comes and provides you that piece of furniture of which you bought that they delivered, do you tip them? I say yes, you do. I mean, you're tipping the person that's bringing your pizza. Do you not tip when it's DoorDash? I have no idea. I've never used it. But I mean, it seems as though, and this isn't universal either, because there are some people that are saying, why would I go to a sub franchise, watch them make my sandwich, and then when they ask me if I want to leave a tip, why would I leave a tip? And I'm saying, why would you not? What's the difference in going there and having them make your sandwich and leaving them a tip versus going to a bar saying, you know what, I would love an old fashioned, watch the bartender make it, and then not tip the bartender? Where's the disconnect there?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when we decided there was a hierarchy to food service or drink service for tipping. I default to tip, but that's probably because I spent so much time in a tip-based job.
Right, yeah.
For me, if it's a delivery-based food or otherwise, food, it's always, no matter what, there's going to be a little something extra if you're bringing me food so that I don't have to leave my house. But furniture, I think, is a tricky one.
Explain, because it's not for me.
Here's been my rule of thumb. If they are either taking something of mine away, which is saving me time and effort, or putting together the thing that they delivered, also saving me time and effort, that's where I think the tip comes into play.
Okay, that is well reasoned. I'm not being a smart.
No,
you know what?
Because if it's a UPS driver and they drop off a package and I'm not there, right? Like you can take care of those guys at the end of the year, Christmas time. A little appreciation goes a long way.
Do you tip your mailman and woman?
I think a lot of people do the Christmas gift type situation. But yeah, for me, if they're doing me a service that saves me time, effort, or just makes it more convenient, throw them a little something.
That is a fair rule. It's a fair rule. Because when you throw out the UPS and FedEx, it's like, you know what? I'm not waiting at the door with a hot five for them.
Right.
Hey, thanks for bringing me my Amazon package. But when somebody's delivering that piece of furniture, bringing it to the room you want, perhaps construction involved, the fact that people are like, what? I just thought it was universally done. Tyler, do you tip movers? I've not utilized a moving service. And this last time, I assure you it's going to be the last time that I physically move my own stuff. I will, and then I probably will tip that the mover as well. Tyler, did you see that Domino's is offering a $3 discount to pick up your pizzas to save tips as well? I had no idea. No, this is the first time. Domino's is going to pay you, or I guess they're going to give you a discount to get off your bum and go pick up your own pizza. Short-staffed on drivers, I assume. Tyler, I like to tip the person in the grocery store that bags my groceries. That, my friend, is going above and beyond. I think that's great. I applaud you for it. That one had never came to my mind. I'm going to get to the phone lines and talk to Russell. Russell, appreciate the phone call. How you been?
Very good. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Who you tipping?
You know what? I've even tipped the people that wash my car.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair tip to be had. I mean, they're putting the time, they're busting their back over to wash the car. I think that's a nice gesture.
You know, I haven't always tipped everyone, but I've always tipped like people that are in the food service or the beer, or you go get a beer, you leave a good tip.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you get what you pay for too.
Yeah, Russ, I think you're right. I appreciate the phone call. It sounds like you kind of cut out there. I'll let you listen. That's the other thing, especially if you're going to be hanging out for a little while. And let's say, well, that old-fashioned, better wash that down with a bush. Well, if you tip accordingly and like an adult that has some respect for those that are serving you, that might come a little bit more quickly.
Here's another way to look at it. And
this is coming from a former bartender. So
and I understand there's a lot of unwritten rules. There's a lot of variance in tipping. I look at it like this. Putting a little bit of positive energy back into our community is never going to be a bad thing.
Boom. Yes.
I mean, the guy working at a car wash, you throw him a few bucks after he dries off your car, he's going to have a better day. And everybody that goes through that car wash is going to get a little better experience, especially if everybody does it. And I know you can't do it for everybody, and there's got to be some lines. But there's these times where it's just, why not? Why not throw them a couple bucks?
See, for me, the why I want to throw this out there, because it seems so arbitrary, especially when, I mean, the sub place, that literally you stand in front of them, you watch them physically make your sandwich. And then at the end of that line, when you give them your card, you have an option to throw a little tip in there. And somebody said, why would I tip them to do that? I go, well, you go buy a $5 coffee 3 times a week. You're tipping them, right? What's the difference?
There is none. Think about how good you feel when you're walking to your car in a parking lot and you look down and you see a $5 bill on the ground. Just think of that joy you feel.
We've had a whole conversation on whether or not you try to find who is the rightful owner of that $5 bill, and I think you and I were on opposite ends of that conversation.
Yep.
Tyler, no tipping movers. You pay for their service. Independent hairdressers and independent massage therapists, do we tip them? See, but yeah, I understand. I mean, when I bought the furniture that they physically brought in, I'm sure they were paid for through some service. You know, that's I get what you're saying, but it's still like, here's a little something. You know what? You had to put up with my dog that was bothering you because she wants all the attention in the world. You had to deal with things by coming into my house and doing something that had I had the opportunity because the furniture was there, I could have done it all myself. And I didn't have to, so thank you. Here's a little tip along the way. Messages continue to come into the iConsultants of North Dakota Text Club. We'll close out with that, see what's coming up on the Drive Time News, Couch Potato Radio with Derek Hansen. Then Timberwolves are taking on Denver. That's your KFGO evening lineup. Right after this KFGO weather update.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is